Hi everybody, today we're going to be making an electric motor out of a D-cell battery, a bit of copper wire, a small magnet, 2 paper clips, and a little bit of tape. At the end of it you'll have a working electric motor that you'll be able to show to all your friends at the next party you go to and be able to impress them all quite a lot. So let's get started. What we're actually going to be doing first is to make the coil windings of the armature, and what this is going to do is it helps to create an electromagnet when the electricity passes through the coils, and it's actually what's going to help the motor turn when we go to get it started. So let's concentrate first on making a nice armature, making these coils nice and tight. The first thing that you need to get is some coated copper wire. It does have insulation on it, but it's very thin insulation, and it's actually painted on. This is annealed copper wire. You should be able to find it at most electronic supply stores, and it's pretty cheap to get a hold of. Or a lot of times your science teacher will have some. And what I'm going to do first is find something that's going to be about the right size to wrap it around. This small flashlight worked quite well. So we'll use it again, and what I'll do is, what you have to do is you have to wrap it around 7 times. So we'll go and we'll get this wrap started. Let's see here. So we're gonna wrap it around 7 times. And it doesn't matter which direction you wind it. You just have to wrap it 7 times. That's 4, 5, 6, and 7. And what you have to do is you have to. So here's the start of our winding. You can see here it's just kind of coiled up like this. But what you have to do is you have to make sure that the wire comes off exactly at the halfway point. So what you can do is you can find the halfway point and give it a little bend like this. And we're going to bend it about the halfway point here. So now we've got this coil winding, and we've got it approximately halfway around. And what that's going to do is going to help to balance the motor, or balance the armature on the actual stand itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a tape. And we're just going to wrap the tape around the edges, right next to where the legs come off. And the trick is to wrap it nice and tight. And what that does not only is keep it nice and neat, it actually helps to focus the magnetic field when you're running the motor. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the other leg as well. So get a nice tight wrap on it here. There we are. Then I'm going to trim the excess off with my side cutters here. Just going to take it to about there. And there's our almost finished armature. That's what it's supposed to look like in the beginning. But you can see it's kind of lopsided. It's kind of wants to hang to one side. And what you have to do is you just have to bend these arms a little bit until it's basically wants to hang halfway. You can see this one here is just about got it good. Okay, so we'll move on to the next step. So here's what it should look like when it comes out of comes off of the flashlight's lid here. Wrap it 7 times, and once you get it wrapped up nice and neatly, you put a bit of tape around each end, and then you've got the two legs sticking out. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start to make the contacts of this armature now. This is one of the most important things that you need to pay attention to. So what you're going to do is get a small piece of sandpaper, and you only just need to cut just a small square of the sandpaper off. And what you're going to do is on the left-hand side, which is this side right here, you're going to take and you're going to remove that insulation off. You're going to sand it down so that all of the insulation has been rubbed off of this leg. Okay, so that's getting pretty good there. Right hand side, we're going to do the exact same thing, but instead of going all the way around the wire and removing all of the insulation, we're only going to remove half of the insulation off. So we're going to sit this down just on here like this, and we're going to leave the armature sitting flat on the table, and we're just going to remove the insulation on the top half of this piece of wire. And we're going to do a good job to make sure that we get all of the insulation off. Oops. And here you can see that the insulation has been rubbed off nicely on this side. It's all nice and shiny, and on the back side it's quite dark. So we've got a shiny side and a dark side. Now we're going to make the cradles for our battery, and what this is going to do is it's going to provide a way for the current to get from the battery itself out towards the armature itself. So we need to have something that we can actually set this guy onto that's going to allow it to turn freely and take power from the battery and complete the circuit. So it's going to be a fairly simple thing to do. All you have to do is open up your battery, or open up your paper clip, sorry, and we're just going to open this up so it's going to be able to be taped on there nicely. And I'm going to kind of sit it in here just like this. And so what I'm doing is, how this is going to sit, the paper clip is going to sit on the battery like so, and then the armature is going to sit down inside this little cradle here, so it's not going to be able to move around very much. And then when the magnet's in place, this should spin around quite nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tape this onto the battery. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other paper clip. So I'm going to bend it into kind of like a W shape. You got to be careful not to bend it too much though, otherwise you'll harden it and it's not going to want to play nicely. So that's going to be about equal. You want to have it sticking out equally on both sides. So you want to adjust the legs of the cradles so they're about the same. You can see this is about the same here, and as well they're in line nicely this way. And then I'm going to just finish the tape off here. Okay. So now we've got the armature, and we've got the battery, we've got the power source, and we've got this this thing here. Before you actually get this thing going, you have to make sure that the armature is going to sit nicely in it. And so this one here, it's kind of wants to wobble around a little bit. And you have to make sure that it's balanced. It's not going to be too heavy on one side. And I can see already that this is bent a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just trim the ends a little bit here. And that's going to help me to get this thing dialed in nicely. So it's still quite heavy on this side, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to flatten it out a little bit so we get more of an oval shape. That's going to help to balance it out quite nicely. So it's a little bit heavy still. So I'm just going to take and I'm going to bend this up a little bit more. And it's just going to help to balance it so it's not, so we're just about balanced here now. So we're just a little bit heavy, but not really that much. Although this is still wobbling around a little bit. So that's getting pretty close. That'll work. That should work just fine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach the magnet, and it doesn't really matter which way you attach the magnet. And you just set the armature down inside. Oops. Oops, a daisy. Let's move the magnet into position here. And there it goes. We've got a beautiful little electric motor. And you can hang that down in there. You can see it just spinning away quite nicely. Nice and smooth. The ends aren't flopping around too much. You can see it's quite stable. And it's spinning quite nicely. That's how you make yourself an electric motor, out of a D battery, a magnet, and a little bit of wire. So today I showed you how to wind the armature out of some copper wire, which is this stuff here, and a flashlight. You can use anything like a large felt marker or something to use, but the trick is you want to make sure it's nice and round and that the ends come off the sides of the armature nice and square. So you don't have one coming off at this angle and another one coming off. You want to make sure it goes straight across the open end of the armature. And what you're going to need as well, you need a small magnet. You need to bend your paper clips appropriately and get a fully charged D-cell battery. And with all these supplies, a little bit of tape and a little bit of tenacity, you can make yourself a nice working model of an electric motor. Oh, there it goes.